If you've been following our videos, you know that having a stroller for your dog is really valuable for your senior dog who is kind of on the older side and can't quite do the walks that you used to be able to do, so that you can still go out and do things, but you can put them inside of the stroller when they are getting to the point where they're stressing out their hips. We also love a good stroller for puppies before they have their vaccinations so that they can be out in public, they can start getting familiar with things and getting used to being around people without the risk of them being on the ground or in contact with other dogs while they're still learning those socialization skills. But what do you do with your stroller in between the puppy stage and the senior stage? We want to make sure that you're making the most out of your investment because strollers are a little bit on the pricier side depending on what you're going to get and what size you need for your dog. So I don't want it just sitting out in your shed or in your garage waiting for those years in between the puppy stage and the senior stage. So here's some really great ways that you can be using this stroller for your dog, no matter the age that you are at. Now, of course, this does have the caveat of not all dogs will fit in all strollers. So if you got a tiny stroller and now you have a big dog, that may not be something that you're able to use. So do this wisely. You know what's going to work for you and what won't. So I love to use my strollers for a number of different things. My puppies are now past the stage of needing to be in it, and they're not at that senior stage anymore, or they're not at the senior stage yet. And I don't have any other senior dogs that need it right now. So my stroller is in that period where I can use it for what I need to use it for. One of the ways that I love using it is if I'm going out to eat. So if we're going somewhere where I'm going to be sitting out at a cafe, we're going to stop for a meal, we're going to stop to do something, I now have a safe environment to put my dogs in while I am there. At a restaurant or a cafe, when we're sitting out, I can put my puppies in the stroller and they can just stay in the safe environment. They're not on the ground. They cannot get any food that I drop or someone else drops because not all food is safe for dogs to be eating. They're not going to be able to run away. They're not going to be able to jerk away from where I'm holding their leash and run out into the street. They're not going to cause any problems, and they're not going to be under anybody's feet. Having them in that stroller is a safe environment, which also prevents people from touching them, which is a big thing for me. I do not want other people touching my dogs, especially without me saying that they have permission to do so, which we know people like to do a lot. So keeping them inside of the stroller contains them, keeps them safe, prevents them from eating things, prevents them from being under people's feet, prevents them from getting scared of something and running away, all of those things. It's a nice, safe environment that is also shaded, so they're able to stay out of the sun. They're able to protect their eyes. It doesn't get super hot in there, and if they do get hot in there, you can put a little fan in with them to cool them down. So it's a very nice contained environment. And I really like to use this kind of as a containment feature for my dogs. So when I'm traveling, I also take the stroller with me for situations where we may be going on a really long walk. I recently went to the beach with my girls and they are past the stage of needing a stroller. However, because I was walking a huge distance, a very, very long distance with the boardwalk, I did bring it so that we could go look at the Christmas lights with them. It kept them contained, safe in the dark while we were out walking for long periods of time. And they didn't have to stress themselves out walking many blocks to see everything. And then when we got kicked off the boardwalk so that the cars could drive through the lights and we had to go out to the main street, now I had them in a very safe, controlled environment because we were going by a very busy road with a lot of vehicles. Now there was no risk of them getting hurt. So bonus points there. I also use it when I'm traveling to get them in and out of hotels. Because we know as soon as the dogs get out of the car, they're going to want to explore the new environment. There's a lot going on. Some dogs are afraid of elevators. My previous dog, Lacey, was terrified of elevators. That would have been a total game changer to have had that when we were traveling with her. We got that after we were done traveling toward the end of her life after we lost Jada, and she only had it for a few months before she passed as well. That would have been amazing to get her in and out of the hotel so she didn't have to be so terrified by the elevators. So you can use it to get them in and out. You can also just kind of put a blanket over it. You know how when people put birds in their cages at night, they kind of settle them by putting that blanket to black everything out? Do that for your dogs. It then helps with the overwhelm and all the things that are going on as you're passing through these different places when you have to get them in and you have to get your luggage in. Then you can take them down to actually explore the hotel, the elevator, the lobby, all of those things. Once everything is in the room and you're good to go and you're not stressing over getting your car out of the way and all of those things. So having that stroller as a transportation to get them in and out of locations is really helpful. This could also be really valuable for going to the vet. If you have a dog who's scared of the vet, doesn't want to touch the tile floor, doesn't want to be in that environment, take them out of your car, put them in the stroller, take the stroller into the vet's office. You have then a contained space. They're going to feel safer because they're in that contained space. They're not going to have direct contact with the other dogs, so you don't have to worry about any fights or any issues, other dogs getting in their space. You have the ability to control what's going on, and you don't have to be there with a giant dog sitting in your lap or having a dog just terrorized by the tile floor. So many dogs are scared of that. You can then move them when you need to. You can pay your bill without having to try to manage them because they just want to get out of the building. You can take them right back into the vet office when it's your turn, and then you can just keep that nice contained environment, which also helps to prevent them from getting into areas with other animals. Sometimes we're a bit nervous about some of the other animals that happen to be in the veterinarian's office, right? We don't want them to pick up any sicknesses or anything that's going on. This just keeps them away from all the germs, all the extra things, all the stuff, most of the stuff anyway. And so it helps to navigate getting them in and out, keeping them safe and protected, but also keeps them away from a lot of those germs, which we worry about as well. And then you don't have a dog jerking on you as you're paying your bill, as you're trying to do the things, have the conversations with the secretaries that you are going to need to talk to. This is a total help when it comes to that. And then as a bonus to that, if you have your stroller while you're traveling, you can also take your dogs up to the hotel room, drop them there, or somebody can stay with the dogs, take it back down to your car and put your luggage in it. That way you don't have to grab a cart and manage those big, bulky, never able to turn carts to get your luggage up there, especially if you don't have a ton of luggage. Just put it in and go. That's a really easy way to move your stuff and to control what's going on and make things a little bit faster for you. I actually packed our stroller the last time I went on vacation. I took the puppies up to the room. I left them with my mom. We were traveling for a vacation together. And I went back down and put all of our stuff inside of the stroller. I had to make one trip, got everything up to the room. We were good to go. And it was a really easy, convenient way with much more navigable wheels that were able to do what we needed to do a lot faster than the carts. And so you want to make sure that you are using this for things like moving things, for things like safety, for things like containment, for things like creating safe environments. I had somebody come on my channel and say, well, that's a silly thing to have a stroller for a dog, but I could see it if you were going to go to like a sporting event and your dog was going to sit inside of the stroller. So you could do something like that as well. You can take your dogs if you're going to a location where you're going to like a soccer game or a football game, where you're going to watch some kind of event where you're outside and dogs are allowed and all of those things. You can keep them inside of the stroller. Keeps them cool, keeps them protected from the sun, keeps them from running away, keeps other people from touching them. All the things we've already discussed, incredibly helpful for you to give them a place to go. And then you can just take them out. You can take them out and put them back in as needed so they have their space to roam around, to sniff around, to see what's going on, but also a space to get away from people as well. And again, the blanket thing, very helpful. So if you've got your dogs in your stroller and they're just sitting there, you can actually put a blanket over one side of it so they can see out of the mesh netting to you, but not to the surrounding people. It's a very helpful way of kind of just blocking off and showing them what they are and are not allowed to see. And there's one more way that I recently discovered that I can be using my stroller, and that is to allow my dogs a place to kind of call their own while we're traveling. While I was in that hotel recently, I just left their strollers open and my dogs would just jump up in there and hang out in the stroller. That was kind of like their own bedroom. And when night rolled around and they were overstimulated by the really loud people out in the hallway, I was then able to allow them to sleep inside of their stroller. I zipped them right in. They could see me. They were right next to the bed next to me, but they could not run to bark at the door. And that helps keep the barking contained a little bit, but it also gave them security. Back a few years ago, before I lost my Jada, she went through a period of time where she was very, very anxious, and she actually slept inside of a little pop-up tent. She had her own bed. She had been sleeping in it for years, but she got just very anxious about things, and having those walls around her helped her feel much more secure. So she slept in it at home, and then when we traveled, I took this little fold-up, pop-up, just very thin little tent, and I allowed her to sleep in that. I didn't zip her in it. She could come and go as she pleased, but she loved having a little like cubby hole to hide in, and that's where she would sleep. It made her feel secure. So the stroller acts the same way. It's a contained area with a wall, with a top, with the sides, so that they can be in it and they don't have to necessarily sleep on the floor then. That's going to be warmer, probably more comfortable for them. It is going to be somewhere that if you need to zip them in, you can do that as well. So there's a lot of options for allowing them to sleep or just to have a break inside of the stroller. Sometimes dogs need to get away, and in a hotel room, it's a very cramped space that dogs may not necessarily function at their best in. And so this is a nice way to kind of give them their own little space that you can't invade. You're not big enough, or you're too big to be fitting in there. It's kind of their own little space. Now, there are lots of ways to use their strollers. You don't have to keep it in storage for a decade in between the puppy and the adult senior stage for your dogs. If you've got ideas, go ahead and drop those down below. And as I continue to think up new ways of using this, as I continue to use this in new ways, I'll update this video. I'll give you more ideas on how you can be using this to make sure you are making the most out of your investment on those strollers. And if you want help picking out your stroller, I've got some great ones listed down below that I really like. You can check those out. And I'm more than happy to be testing out strollers for you as well. So let me know what you're thinking about and follow along, because every single day we're dropping brand new videos helping you navigate the life of being a dog parent so that you and your dog can thrive during your time together. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.